Hello everyone. Today, I've got a story for you. A story that will touch your heart and maybe open your eyes. It's about a man who always wanted to be right, no matter what. But by the end of his journey, he learned that being wise is far greater than being right. So, stay with me till the end because this story might just change the way you look at arguments, mistakes, and pride. There was once a man named Henry who lived in a peaceful little village near the hills. The air there was always fresh. The sound of birds filled the mornings, and people knew each other by name. Henry was known as one of the smartest men in the village. He read books, fixed things, and spoke with confidence. But there was something about Henry that people quietly noticed. He always wanted to be right. If someone said, "The market is open until noon," Henry would correct them. "No, it closes at 11:45. If someone gave advice, Henry would say, "That's not the best way. Let me explain the right method." He didn't mean harm. He just believed that truth must always be spoken, immediately, directly, and completely. But he never realized that truth without kindness can sound like pride. One sunny afternoon, Henry sat outside the tea shop with his friend David. They were talking about farming, something Henry had read about in books but never done himself. David said, "I think the new fertilizer works better." Henry smiled and replied, No, that one destroys the soil. The old one is better. You don't understand chemistry." David laughed softly. "Maybe you're right," he said, ending the talk. But that night he told his wife, "I love Henry, but sometimes I just wish he would listen." And slowly, people began to avoid conversations with him, not because Henry was bad, but because he made every talk feel like a test. A few days later, Henry was walking to the market. He saw an old man with gray hair carrying a big basket of mangoes. The basket looked heavy, almost too heavy for his weak arms. As the man crossed the street, he tripped on a small stone, and the mangoes rolled in every direction, some into the mud, some onto the road. Henry rushed to help him. "Be careful, sir," he said loudly. He picked up the fruits and added, "You shouldn't carry so many things at once. That's dangerous." The old man smiled kindly. "Thank you, my son," he said. "These are for my grandchildren. I wanted to surprise them." Henry frowned. "Still, that was careless. You should have planned better. You could have dropped them all." The old man didn't reply. He just smiled again, his eyes gentle, and said softly, "Maybe you're right." Henry felt proud. He believed he had taught the old man a useful lesson. But as Henry walked away, something felt strange inside. That smile, calm, forgiving, stayed in his mind like a quiet echo. A week later, heavy rain came to the village. The sky turned gray, the roads turned muddy, and everyone stayed home. In the evening, through the mist and the sound of thunder, Henry saw smoke rising from the other side of the village, near the river. He ran through the rain, and his heart sank. It was the old man's house, half covered in water and flames. Without thinking, Henry shouted for help. He and a few neighbors grabbed buckets, pulling water from the river, trying to save what they could. The fire burned for almost an hour before it died out, leaving the roof half gone and the walls black with smoke. The old man sat quietly near the door, his clothes soaked, his face tired but peaceful. Henry placed a blanket over his shoulders and said, "I told you before, living so close to the river is dangerous. Look what happened now." The old man turned to him with calm eyes and said, "My son, sometimes people don't need to hear that they were wrong. They just need to feel that someone cares." Henry froze. The rain kept falling, but his heart went completely still. The old Anne's words were simple, yet they hit him like thunder. That night Henry couldn't sleep. He sat near the window, listening to the rain and replaying the words in his mind. They just need to feel that someone cares. He realized that his entire life had been about proving he knew more, proving he was right, proving that others were wrong. But what did it bring him? Loneliness, silence, distance. He remembered his sister crying once when he corrected her in front of their family. He remembered the baker avoiding his opinions. He remembered David's forced smiles during conversations, and he whispered into the darkness, "I don't want to be right anymore. I want to be wise." Tears rolled down his cheeks, not of regret, but of awakening. He understood that being wise means knowing when to speak, when to listen, and when to simply be kind. He looked out at the soaked, sleeping village and smiled to himself for the first time, not because he was right, but because he had finally learned something that couldn't be read in a book. From that day, Henry began to change, quietly, humbly. When people came to him with their troubles, he listened first. When someone made a mistake, he offered help instead of correction. And when an argument started, he smiled and said, "Maybe we both can learn something new from this." Children started to wave at him. Neighbors greeted him with warmth again. And David, his friend, once said, "Henry, I don't know what changed you, but it feels good talking to you now." Henry laughed and said, "Maybe I stopped talking to win." He still spoke truth, but gently. He still gave advice. But with empathy, he learned that being right could make you respected, but being wise makes you loved. And one morning, as he passed the old man's house by the river, rebuilt, safe, peaceful, the old man waved and said, "See, you've learned fast." Henry smiled back and replied, "I'm still learning, sir, this time from the heart." So, my friends, what can we learn from Henry's story? Sometimes we focus too much on being right. We want to win arguments, prove our point, and correct others, even when it hurts them. But wisdom is softer. It listens, it understands. Being wise is not about knowing more, it's about feeling more. So next time someone makes a mistake, or says something you disagree with, take a deep breath. Be kind first, be wise, not right, and remember, every action has a reaction. Choose yours with love. The moral of the story is that wisdom begins when ego ends. Being right can make you proud, but being kind makes you great.